Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. Third time we're trying here. We'll try and smash this one out. Now, we did record live on Saturday evening, myself and Jason McKenna, so I'll not touch upon those injuries as such. I don't want to duplicate any of that content. I will, however, just give a quick update to Alexander Mitrovic. We've had a lot of people asking a lot of questions with regards to that. Marco Silva said immediately after that home defeat to Newcastle that they were uncertain as to the severity of the problem and tests were ongoing. Now, typically that would be 24 to 48 hours. The injury can look to evolve. So maybe hopefully early part of this week, we may get a chance to hear something from down at Craven Cottage. Now, before going into those injuries from Sunday, we will look ahead to Monday night's game between Nottingham Forest and Leicester City. Just a quick update on some of the team news there. The two main question marks for Steve Cooper is with regards to Scott McKenna. That's a knee problem that forced him out of Scotland's Nations League decider against the Ukraine. He's flagged as a major doubt. I can see him maybe missing that match, and that could force Forest into a reshuffle. Morgan Gibbs-White, we're a little bit more hopeful over him. I think that's an adductor issue. Kept him out of the England under-21s, but he has been integrated back into training. So as long as he's come through those sessions without a reaction, he should be fine and available for selection. With regards to Leicester, Dennis Pratt, that's an ongoing or persistent foot problem. Again, it has hampered him slightly. But he has trained. He isn't getting much of a look in that starting 11, in all honesty. But he is available for Brendan Rodgers. Elsewhere, Wilfred Ndidi, that was a minor hamstring problem that he was picked up on international duty, so he should be okay. And Padson Daka, he was hospitalised briefly with that illness along with teammate Enoch Mwepu. Mwepu got the most severe end of that illness. Padson Daka should be okay. He has trained, but I'm hoping, or I'm thinking maybe Jamie Vardy comes back into that Leicester starting lineup. Now, with regards to the rest of the weekend's roundup, we start at the Manchester derby. There was a few talking points from that one. The first one came about when the team news was announced, and that was the absence of Rodri from the Manchester City squad. Now, this was a late withdrawal, picked up a calf injury on Saturday afternoon. The severity of it, we're still not certain. Those tests, those players still being evaluated. What we know, it is more than a niggle, and certainly Pep didn't want to take any chances giving this congestive fixture period that's coming up. We heard from Antonio Conte recently. They have 13 games in 43 days between now and that break for that World Cup in Qatar, and follow a similar timeline as well. So there's lots of games coming thick and fast. On a plus note for Manchester City, Aymeric Laporte was included in the matchday squad. He's obviously been out since he picked up that medial collateral, that MCL injury towards the back end of last season. He was patched up and seen through to help City become champions, but ultimately in doing so, that forced him down a route where he needed surgery, and he's just on the cusp of a return to that first team. Now, we will hear from Pep ahead of that Champions League tie against FC Copenhagen, so he may be to give us a little bit more insight. A lot of questions again with regards to the absence or the dropping of Ruben Diaz. Pep decided to go with Nathan Ake and also Akanji on the right-hand side. And that was purely, he preferred that left footer, the left centre of the two, with Ake and Akanji on the right. So maybe going forward, that possibly comes into question, that who was once a nailed starter in Ruben Diaz, me being one of those, and I may look to reevaluate the decision with Ruben Diaz in that backline, certainly as Laporte comes back into contention. So there's a lot of competition, a lot of players vying for places in that backline. Kyle Walker, he was forced off in and around that 41st minute. No update as at the moment. That will be checked, of course. He only returned during that international break from another previous muscle problem. So maybe that's a re-injury or recurrence for that. We wait to see. Like I say, hopefully Pep will speak on Tuesday with regards to that. Their opponents on the day, City rivals United, that wasn't without problems. That defeat was compounded with the loss of Rafael Varane. Eric Ten Hag said He wasn't certain if Varane could have seen out that first half, but certainly at 4-0 down, he made the decision to take him off because he didn't want to exacerbate that problem any further. Now, that's an ankle injury. Who would come into that back line? Well, Harry Maguire possibly would have been a first choice, but we know he picked up that hamstring injury playing for England. Initial timeline suggests that 2 to 3 weeks. So for now, at least, it could be Victor Lindelof. But of course, Manchester United again playing in European football on Thursday against Omonia Nicosia. So Ten Hag again should be able to give us a little bit more of an update on Wednesday when we have from that press conference. Sticking with those teams involved in European action, West Ham United, they face Anderlecht. There's two key updates from the win over Wolves. First one, concerns over Maxwell Cornet. I think we were recording this live on Saturday. It looked a fairly innocuous challenge, maybe in and around that left foot, that left ankle. However, as he come off, he pointed to the back of his leg, indicating that it was a calf issue. And David Moyes sort of said along similar lines, or that he hadn't spoken to the medical department. Better news with regards to Jarrod Bowen. I'm sure you've all seen the pictures on social media. His finger, David Moyes was notified that his finger was actually pointing the wrong way. David Moyes said, well, that's funny because for most of the season, his feet have been pointing the wrong way as well. But tongue-in-cheek, looks to be fine. Got through, yes, it's painful. Those two things will be strapped, and maybe they'll probably be strapped certainly for the ensuing weeks as not to cause any further damage to those fingers. Newcastle United, Eddie Howe, a lot of questions with regards to Alan Saint-Maximin. We know he's picked up that hamstring problem. I think it was at the 1-1 away draw at Molineux at Wolves. Suffered a little bit of a setback, but now rejoined the group in training on Friday, so ahead of that trip to Craven Cottage. However, Eddie Howe said it was too soon to involve the French winger, and that's why he wasn't part of the matchday squad. If he can come through this week without any kind of reaction or setback, then I firmly expect him to return in game week 10. And staying with Wolves, we have quite a lengthy update, of course, the departure of Bruno Lage now, so they'll be on the search for a new manager. But with regards to Hee-chan, just in case you missed it, he picked up an adductor issue while away on international duty. That's why he wasn't in the squad. Raul Jimenez, we know this is an ongoing groin issue. Reports from his homeland are even calling into question his availability for the World Cup in Qatar. What Bruno Lage said before his sacking on Sunday, that Jimenez is working with the club's medical department and a specialist to try and remedy the root cause of these problems. Now, there are no guarantees with this. Like I say, it's been going on for 2, possibly even 3 years, and everything seems to come to a head. Looks like it's a sports hernia. So, yeah, there are no timelines. And, yeah, I think you've got to be questioning, if he's going to be available for Mexico at this point in time. Elsewhere within that World squad, Adama Traore, he was only fit enough for what should have been 30 minutes at the weekend, but unfortunately he was introduced earlier on because of an ankle problem, which looked bad, according to Bruno Lage, for Pedro Neto. And Ruben Neves, he misses out in game week 10 after collecting his 5th yellow card of the season. Aston Villa, they've got problems at fullback. Obviously, we know that Lucas Digne is out for the foreseeable future, a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks, but that will be assessed and evaluated at that point. Nothing definitive in terms of a timeline. Well, Steven Gerrard will be hopeful that Matty Cash can be back in contention. He is expected to rejoin the group in training today following a hamstring problem. Of course, Villa don't play until next Monday, so that extra recovery time will certainly help. Callum Chambers out of the game at Ellen Road because of a problem with his appendix, had a small procedure, and coming in as Lucas Digne's replacement, Ludwig Augustin, he limped off on the half-time mark with an apparent hamstring problem. Again, Steven Gerrard fears that is going to be the worst with that one. So, with any kind of hamstring injury, even if it's minor, we're still looking at least 2 to possibly 3 weeks on the sideline. So Ashley Young can move around that back line. And maybe if Matty Cash comes back in, that's a bit of a solution there for Steven Gerrard. Opponents on the day at Leeds United, it was nils each. Leeds look a little bit toothless in attack, but of course they did go down to 10 men following the dismissal of Sinisterra. It was a surprise to see Rodrigo back in that starting 11, particularly having missed almost a month after dislocating his shoulder. But that decision was brought about by Jess Marsh because of a knock for Patrick Bamford. He did actually score a hat-trick for the under-21s just before the international break and was looking pretty good. But unfortunately, he picked up that knock. That called into question his availability. He had failed to train. So that's why Rodrigo was one of those that came in. Joe Gelhardt, or Joffy, as Jess Marsh likes to refer to him, was not included in the matchday squad of the weekend. But that was purely a tactical decision to get Gelhardt some minutes on the training pitches and keep that fitness up. So that's it for now. I'm almost certain. If I have missed up anything, or if there are any more key updates that pop along, then we will be popping them on social media. You can always check out premierinjuries.com. And as always, we will be banging out the videos as regular as humanly possible. So thanks for now. If you have any comments, pop them in the box below. And of course, subscribe, give us a like. It helps. We can devote more resource and time to these updates the more followers we have. So hope you had a good one. See you all again very soon.